You're listening to the Health and Happiness Podcast with Travis Kemper and
Lauren Maxwell. Each episode, we share easy-to-implement strategies to improve your health, happiness, and overall quality of life. A sauna, the poor man's pharmacy. Finnish proverb. How's it going, Travis?
Well, our last game of the season was on Friday. I think it's our last game. We could find ourselves in the playoffs tomorrow morning, but most likely it was our last game. It was a good one to end on if it is our last game. The boys played confidently and really well, which has not been this season so much. Also, I'm working on my basement. I should be putting up the walls today and probably the next few days. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Home gym should be here probably before Christmas time. There's a number of steps. I have to wait for the electrician next weekend, but there's a number of steps to go. But yeah,
so exciting! Congratulations!
Yes, I'm very, very excited.
And congratulations on finishing your last week of work. Well, your old job. You're starting your new job.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Congratulations on your transition to your new job.
Yes. So that starts next week with the ever fun orientation week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Not this week. Not this week. I have this week off to work on my basement. But
that's awesome.
So next week, the 15th, that's when I start.
Cool.
Anyway, how's it going in your world?
It's going really well. We did officially get to go stargazing last weekend. I think I talked about that in our intro of last week's podcast. Because it was supposed to be cloudy when we were going to go, and we were so nervous that we weren't going to get to actually go, but it didn't end up being cloudy. It was super awesome. Yeah, they have a huge observation deck at Lowell that actually got installed, I think 3 years ago, maybe, with 6.
Oh, a new one?
Yeah.
We never went to that. I lived there for 4 years and we never went, but I didn't know they upgraded it.
Yeah, they did. It was actually like 3 or 4 years, probably 3 years ago, but it was right on our anniversary 3 years ago because we tried to go to Lowell on our anniversary and we couldn't make it in because they had just opened this brand new deck and it became like the most popular thing to do in Flagstaff. So now 3 years later, we finally got to go. See this really cool thing. They have 6 massive telescopes that they have on this deck, and they set up for you to look at star clusters and galaxies and nebulas and planets, because Jupiter and Saturn are out right now, which is really awesome.
I think, nobody quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that Lowell Observatory was at one point had the biggest telescope in the world.
Oh, maybe.
Don't quote me.
I don't know.
Could be totally talking out my butt.
They have some massive telescopes there for sure.
I think that at one point they had the biggest. I mean, it's one of the best places to do it because obviously Arizona has clear skies almost all the time, and you're really high, and there's not very much pollution.
Yeah, so. It's a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
They also took us through like a constellation tour with like, they'll get their laser pointers out and point you through like, oh, this is Cassiopeia and this is blah, 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 blah. And then like the history and background behind them, because a lot of them are like, I mean, like they're named after the zodiac. But there's like all this mythology behind all of that, all of the names anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I would definitely do it again.
I'm glad you got to see stuff.
Me too. I'm so excited. I got to see my favorite star cluster, which is Pleiades, which is the 7 sisters. It's like basically, well, you can see like 7 really bright stars. It looks like a teeny tiny dipper. And if you have never seen Pleiades, you actually have, because I think Japanese name for Pleiades is Subaru. That is their logo.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I see Pleiades every day.
Yeah. Anyway.
I think you know more about astronomy than I do.
I took astronomy in community college when I didn't know what I wanted to be, and it's fascinating. So
nice.
Yeah. What are we going to talk about today, Travis?
The amazing benefits of saunas. We kind of alluded to this last week, and I'm doing sauna research for personal reasons. But I also sauna like 6 to 7 days a week.
Oh, nice.
So Yeah, I love it. So there's amazing benefits, and I didn't know any of the benefits when I started it. I just walked into one and I was like, oh my God, I feel so good after this.
Oh, wow.
So, and
Yeah.
then I was hooked.
Yeah, I know nothing about saunas and I've never been in a sauna. So when you had kind of like mentioned that there were lots of benefits that you had started noticing, I was like, well, we should definitely do an episode because one, I want to learn something, and two, I don't know what number 2 is. I'm
Number
just really
2
curious.
is Lauren's gonna have to find a sauna after this episode.
Yeah, that's
because
it.
of all the evidence for
It's
it.
extraordinary.
So, Lauren, what is sauna-ing? I think that's a word. I'm gonna use it as a verb.
All right, let's use it. Basically, it's bathing oneself in heat, and doing that for the purposes of purification, cleansing, and healing is an ancient practice dating back thousands of years and observed across many cultures. It's sometimes referred to as sauna bathing, and it's characterized by short-term passive exposure to extreme heat. This exposure elicits mild hyperthermia, an increase in the body's core temperature that induces a thermoregulatory response involving neuroendocrine, cardiovascular, and cytoprotective mechanisms that work together to restore homeostasis and condition the body for future heat stressors. That is a big, long definition. That sounds really fancy and cool.
So it's another one of those things. I think I've talked about this on the podcast. I feel like in health, we have gone like to traditional medicine like crazy. And now we're starting to revert back to old time medicine. And saunas are another one of those things because Finland, like Finnish sauna-ing has been a thing for like
ever
centuries.
Yeah.
Literally thousands of years. And still, I think that they're the most likely people to sauna. And it's catching on over here. And people are starting, at least in science, they're starting to do research in America. But most of the studies we have are still coming out of Finland.
Yeah. I didn't know it was so popular in Finland until I was reading all of this research. And that's why our quote was a Finnish proverb, because
yes,
holy cow, this is a really one of the first articles opened with like, it is as, I don't know, something about like, as everybody knows in Finland. And I was like, wait, wow, I did not know that.
You are not everybody.
I was not everybody.
So I knew that it was very popular in Finland. I did not know it was quite as popular as it is. I saw something when we were doing research for this episode that said there's 5.5 million people in Finland and 3.3 million saunas.
That is a huge proportional ratio.
Yes, a little bit shocking of a number. Anyway, so jumping into some of the research, there's a study from Finland, shocking. I don't know how to say this. It's like Kuopio.
Yeah, that's what I would guess too.
It's a really cool word, but it's the Kuopio Ischemic Heart Disease Risk Factor Study. And it's an ongoing prospective population-based cohort study of health outcomes in more than 2,300 middle-aged men from Eastern Finland. And they identified strong links between sauna use and reduced death and disease.
Yeah, this study is really awesome. They found a lot of different things. We referenced it in our last episode, but then we read more about like what the study has found. And it's, I mean, one of the first mind-blowing things that I've read in this research about saunas.
Yeah, so they found that the men who used the sauna 2 to 3 times per week were 27% less likely to die from cardiovascular related causes than men who didn't use the sauna. They also found that the benefits were also dose dependent. So men who use the sauna roughly twice as often, about 4 to 7 times per week instead of 2 to 3 times, experienced roughly twice the benefits. So my natural inclination to use the sauna 6 to 7 times a week is research based, even though I didn't know it.
Right.
So they were 50% less likely to die from cardiovascular related causes. Frequent sauna users were also found to be 40% less likely to die from all causes of premature death. These findings held true when considering age, activity levels, and lifestyle factors that might have influenced the men's health. 40% is crazy.
Yeah.
If you remember from previous episodes, that's the inverse of the negative effects of obesity, depression, and some of the other things we have mentioned in this podcast.
Yeah.
40% is huge
from all causes.
Yeah. They also found, this is still that same study. KIHD. They also found that frequent sauna use reduced the risk of developing dementia and Alzheimer's disease in a dose-dependent manner. Men who used the sauna 4 to 7 times a week had a 66% lower risk of developing dementia and 65% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease compared to men who used the sauna only 1 time a week. So that's not even people that didn't use it at all.
Yep. That's compared to already a baseline of using it.
Right. Because you're in Finland and obviously
and you just use it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you have 3.3 million saunas for 5.5 million people. That's insane. So if anybody doesn't know how terrible dementia and Alzheimer's can be, do just the basic research on it. I guarantee you don't want them. They're horrible for everybody involved, family members. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
In addition to all of those, they also found that men who used the sauna 4 to 7 times per week were 77% less likely to develop psychotic disorders, regardless of the men's dietary habits, socioeconomic status, physical activity, and inflammatory status, as measured by C-reactive protein. So Lauren, what else can saunas help with?
Apparently a whole lot. That I'm just in shock from all the research. We didn't even have to do that much because there is just endless. We didn't have to work that hard because there's just endless research apparently on this.
It's like on exercise.
Yeah, I am kind of mind blown. So saunas can help with improving cardiovascular health, preventing cardiovascular disease and sudden cardiac death, improving endurance, heart size, and disease status of those with congestive heart failure, improving endothelial function in those with ischemic heart disease, improving pain levels, walking endurance, and lower extremity blood flow in those with peripheral artery disease, modulating serum cholesterol and lipoproteins for those with dyslipidemia, and decreased risk of hypertension.
Yeah, so none of these actually, once we look at it and I think about it, none of these actually surprise me that much. Because when you're in there, for instance, my resting heart rate is 50 to 55. When I'm in the sauna, my heart rate will be 100 to 110. So it's just like exercise. It's simulating exercise in your body. You're stressing your body. Your heart's working harder, which is going to increase your cardiovascular fitness, and decrease your resting heart rate in general. So none of these surprise me that much. It's going to improve your blood flow, that kind of deal. I just never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So it keeps going. All right. So there was I found this on Harvard. They linked to a study that said, again, we're out of Finland. Everything's out of
Finland.
Yeah. So in general, Finnish people spend more time in the sauna than they do exercising in general. Most Finnish people visit the sauna at least once a week. Only about a half of Finnish men and a third of Finnish women between 18 and 65 meet the WHO exercise guidelines, which recommend the equivalent of 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise 5 days a week. Very similar to the US guidelines from the ACSM that I think we've talked about before. The Finnish researchers suggested that saunas may provide some cardiovascular conditioning because of the high temperatures can drive heart rates. It's literally what we were just talking about, to levels often achieved by moderate intensity physical exercise. They found that people live longer with this stuff, just like with exercising. Here's the crazy thing. So I just went on to Google and looked at lifespan in Finland versus lifespan in the US. It's currently about 5 years longer than the US. Yeah.
Wow. And like you said, only half of men and a third of women are meeting the recommended like exercise guidelines. So you would think
I doubt we're any better than that. But yeah, I don't think they're exercising more than us.
Right. That was my point. But because of the sauna
I see
use.
Where you were going.
Yeah.
My bad. I misinterpreted what you were saying.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Holy cow. Maybe I should go to Finland.
Or just use a sauna.
That's true. Well, and figure out like what else they do. I want to know all about their lifestyle now because I want to replicate it. Researchers from the University of Eastern Finland tracked 2,300 middle-aged men for an average of 20 years. They categorized the men into 3 groups according to how often they used a sauna each week. The men spent an average of 14 minutes per visit, baking in 175 degrees Fahrenheit heat. Over the course of this study, 49% of men who went to a sauna once a week died, compared with 38% of those who went 2 to 3 times a week, and just 31% of those who went 4 to 7 times a week. So inversely related to how much time you spend in, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
how much
which is the same
in the sauna, or how much frequency versus like your wow.
Yeah, which is the same as the first study we went over, that they found more benefits if you did it more often.
Yeah.
So another one, a 15-year study in Finland, had 3 groups again. They're really doing these very well. These sauna studies, and I guess it's because almost everybody uses it at least one time a week.
Right.
So they had 3 groups: the 1 time a weekers, the 2 to 3 time a weekers, and the 4 to 7 time a weekers. And they were looking at the risk of stroke. And what they found was that with the group that did 2 to 3 times a week, they had a 14% reduction in risk of stroke compared to the group that did 1 time a week. And the group that did 4 to 7 times a week had a 61% risk reduction of having a stroke. Here's the crazy thing. The association persisted when taking into account conventional stroke factors such as age, sex, diabetes, BMI, blood lipids, alcohol consumption, physical activity, socioeconomic status, and it was similar for both men and women.
This is wild.
It's crazy.
I'm shocked. I'm shook.
I'm shocked that there's no research outside of anywhere but Finland.
It's probably just the easiest place to do it.
Right, that is true. That's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully it's getting more popular elsewhere. But yeah, I could just see that it's just the easiest place to conduct your research because everybody probably has access to.
Right, easy access and is used to doing it, so you don't even have to.
You're not even forcing people, to change their habits. Yeah.
Right.
So there's even more benefits. In a study of more than 2,000 men living in Finland, C-reactive protein levels were inversely related to the frequency of sauna bathing in a dose response fashion, with lower levels linked to greater frequency. So C-reactive protein levels, that's one of the several blood proteins, often referred to as as acute phase reactants, which participates in the body's inflammatory cascade. So this is basically reducing inflammation in the body. In another study involving 22 healthy male athletes and non-athletes who received two 15-minute sauna sessions at 208 degrees Fahrenheit, separated by a 5-minute cool shower, the men's resting IL-10 levels, again, this is another potent endogenous anti-inflammatory protein. So the levels increased and this adaptation occurred faster in athletes.
Crazy. So inflammation, another one.
Mm-hmm.
That it's good for. All right, more cognitive and mental health. It enhances neurogenesis, which is your ability to form new neuronal connections in your brain, which means you can learn faster. It reduces the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by up to 65% in the studies. It reduces the symptoms of depression. So in a randomized double-blind study of 30 healthy adults diagnosed with depression, participants who were exposed to a single session of whole body hyperthermia, which would be extreme heat, in which core body temperature was elevated to 101.3 degrees Fahrenheit, they experienced an acute antidepressant effect that was apparent within a week of treatment and persisted for 6 weeks after treatment. Lauren, this is one session.
I know.
And they got 6 weeks of antidepressant benefits.
I know.
That's nuts.
Just wild. Like I was like, we have to include that study in there because are you serious right now? Because
we missed a major potential treatment in our depression.
I know.
Episode.
Yeah, that's why I was like, okay, this has got to go in there. So 6 weeks later with one
6
session.
Weeks. That's a long time. Crazy.
It also has some benefits with mental focus and attention span. So they found that when young men stayed in a sauna that was heated to 176 degrees Fahrenheit until subjective exhaustion, their norepinephrine levels increased by 310%, and their prolactin levels increased by 900%. So norepinephrine increases attention and focus, while prolactin promotes myelin growth, which basically makes the brain function faster. It sends the signals faster to the brain. So improving your focus and attention here. Similarly, in a study involving women who participated in 20-minute sessions in a dry sauna twice a week experienced 86% increase in norepinephrine and a 510% increase in prolactin. Like wow. What?
Wow. I'm going to make one note. I don't 100% recommend going to subjective exhaustion, especially to start.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you've never done it, subjecting yourself to extreme heat for as long as you possibly can, you could legitimately see stars, pass out.
Yeah, that doesn't sound super safe.
No, so I would not start with subjective exhaustion as the goal. Personally,
these people in Finland are just way too experienced.
Was that one in Finland too?
I'm sure it was in Finland. They're all in Finland.
Yeah, that's probably true. So looking at physical fitness and athletic performance, a small intervention study looked at the effects of repeat sauna use on athletic performance and other psychological effects in 6 male distance runners. So this is a very small study. Hopefully we will have more studies coming up. The findings showed that one 30-minute sauna session twice a week for 3 weeks post-workout, so that after their workout, which is what I generally do, increased the time that it took for study participants to run into exhaustion by 32% compared to their baseline. That's insane.
That's huge.
That's nuts. These performance improvements were accompanied by a 7.1% increase in plasma volume and a 3.5% increase in red blood cells. Well, no wonder they had that benefit. So for those of you that aren't aware of what red blood cells and plasma will do, look up Lance Armstrong and blood doping. That's literally how he won the Tour de France or whatever he won several times,
Yeah.
is he would take his own blood and then inject it back into himself, because it's literally you're on steroids. The more red blood cells you have, the more oxygen you can have coming into your body. So when you're on when you're doing endurance events like that, like running or long distance biking like he did, you're literally on steroids.
He should have just gone into a sauna.
Right. The difference is this is legal.
Yeah.
Another small intervention study in humans found that daily heat treatments applied locally to muscle during 10 days of immobilization prevented the loss of mitochondrial function, increased heat shock protein levels, which make our cells more robust and resistant to damage and stress, and attenuated skeletal muscle atrophy by 37% compared to a sham control group. So this is just local heat, probably a heating pad on your injured muscle. 37%.
The benefits of heat. Holy cow.
Yeah.
It also has some benefits with detoxification, because sweating, which you would do naturally in a sauna because you are hyper
thermic.
Thank you. Sweating facilitates the excretion of certain toxicants that bioaccumulate in the muscle, adipose tissues, and organs of humans.
I like bioaccumulate too. That's two good words.
Got some nice words in here.
Yeah, sweating is really good for you. It's one of the ways your body detoxes. So that makes sense.
So many benefits. Holy cow.
Yeah. So a couple things. There have been some studies that have looked at fertility problems in men. It has notable decreases in sperm counts, but these are reversible when you stop sauna-ing. So if you're having trouble conceiving, I guess you just stop sauna-ing for a little bit.
Yep.
Generally speaking, it's safe for pregnant women
as well as children,
but you should probably ask your physician. And same with children. Yeah. Lauren, how about people who are taking medications?
Well, as we've seen in research, there's a lot of benefits for a variety of conditions, but again, make sure to consult with your physician first.
Yeah, and you should probably make sure you're drinking enough water, because you're gonna sweat during it. So yeah, water intake before and after is probably a good idea. And we should do an episode of dehydration and just hydration.
Good idea,
for how much,
Travis.
Because nobody drinks enough water.
Nobody drinks enough water. Ooh, good idea. Okay.
Yeah. They also mentioned that you should consume electrolyte rich foods post sauna usage, such as spinach, avocado, tomatoes, fish, nuts, and seeds. Just like post workout, you need to refuel your body. How long, Lauren, should people sauna?
We typically have seen between 5 to 20 minutes in the studies, at least. That's typical. So Travis, other than sitting in a car in Phoenix, where can I find me a sauna?
I like how you read it the way that I wrote it. Where can I find me a sauna? Well, if you live in a medium to large metro area, they're easy to find it at local gyms. They're tougher here. Luckily, I live in a place called Glenwood Springs, which is known for its hot springs. So it's lots of spa type things. So we have a couple resorts that have saunas, but they're really expensive. I think I pay like $116 a month for my gym membership. Versus in Phoenix, I paid $20 a month and actually had a better gym that also had a sauna and a pool. Yeah, I have a pool too. I don't use it, but I have a pool. Anyway, so yeah, if you live in a medium to large metro area, they're easy to find. They're all over the place. I think every LA Fitness that I ever was in had them. 24-hour fitness, they don't have them. But a lot of the chains have them because people like them, and you know,
And I can see why. I
and
mean, without
yeah,
even having
yeah.
been in it, I can see why.
Yeah. So Lauren, you need to go find a sauna.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah, so go find a sauna this week and give it a shot and see how you feel and let us know.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely give it a try. That's for sure.
Well, this was fun.
This was fun.
Great job today, Lauren.
You too, Travis.
We'll see you next time for a hydration episode.
Hydration. Let's do it. All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode and are getting benefits from our content.
If your life is improving in part due to the information in this podcast, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the episode with your family and friends on social media and leaving us a review so we can continue to reach more people and improve the health and happiness of the community at large.
Thanks again, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast.